Hello everyone, welcome to Better Tech. So today we have Danielle with us. Hello Danielle, how are you?
Hi, very well, thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for taking out the time and coming on to the podcast of Better Tech. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
So Danielle, before we can get started, can you briefly tell us something about yourself?
Yeah, my entire background is in artificial intelligence, and I'm deeply interested in how AI will impact the world, and I want to try and make sure that it's going to be impacting the world in a positive way.
Before we basically take a deeper dive into the topic today, can you talk to us a bit about your journey, how you ended up starting this company? I mean, what you were doing before it and things like that?
Yeah, my entire academic background is in artificial intelligence. My undergraduate, my master's, PhD, postdocs are all in AI at UCL, which is one of the leading universities in the world. I ran a master's program in UCL in applied AI, where I had hundreds of students going out there applying these emerging technologies. And I'm currently entrepreneur in residence for UCL. I spun out a company from UCL that was linked to my PhD, which my PhD intersected two worlds. The first world is in deep learning, so modeling the brains of bumblebees. Also, the other world is optimization, so decision making. And so I saw there was an opportunity to combine these two types of technologies to make a real positive dent in how organizations operate. And over the past 12, 13 years, I've been the CEO of Satalia, and we build AI solutions for some of the biggest companies in the world. And we recently exited to WPP, which is the biggest media agency in the world, 120,000 people, where we're continuing to scale Satalia, but I'm also the chief AI officer for WPP. So I oversee AI across 120,000 people.
All right. So, I mean, before starting this company, I mean, you talked about your educational background, but what was your working background? I mean, you actually worked at some places or you were doing your startup since the very beginning?
Yeah, primarily I've always been in study, but I've also been interested in the intersection between academia and industry. So I want to see how these technologies can impact the world. So I had my own consultancy company while I was doing my undergraduate. I won a scholarship as part of my PhD to go to the US actually and learn about how they take technology from their leading institutes like Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Berkeley, and then scale them and spin them out. So as part of that program, I was lived in Silicon Valley in the South Bay, working in Cisco, where I helped actually build an innovation program for Cisco. Cisco had at the time 60,000 employees, and the question was, can you figure out how to unlock the creative capacity of these employees to figure out what the next generation IP Cisco should be creating? So I'm really interested in the intersection of emerging technology and impact innovation.
All right. Okay. So coming to the topic today, I mean, really, what in your opinion AI really is?
Well, like I said, I've been studying AI for over 20 years, and my master's was on intelligence. There are multiple definitions, and I have to say, multiple misunderstandings about these technologies in an industry, in politics. The definition that currently people are using is getting computers to do things that humans can do. So over the past decade, we've managed to get machines to correspond in natural language, to recognize objects and images. And when we start to get machines to do things that humans can do, because humans are the most intelligent thing we know in the universe, we assume that that's intelligence. Now, actually, I would controversially argue that humans are not intelligent. We're very good at finding patterns in about 4 dimensions, and we're very good at solving problems up to about 7. Machines can find patterns in thousands of dimensions, and they can solve problems with thousands of moving parts. So using humans as the definition of intelligence is a very silly thing to do. There's a much better definition of intelligence, which is goal-directed adaptive behavior. Goal-directed in the sense you're trying to achieve an objective, you're trying to route your vehicles efficiently, or allocate your employees to maximize utilization, or allocate your marketing spend to maximize reach. You have to have a goal. Behavior is how quickly you can achieve that goal, but the key word is adaptive, goal-directed adaptive behavior. What you want to do is build systems that can make decisions, learn about whether those decisions are good or bad, adapt themselves so that next time you make better decisions. And if I was being brutally honest, I haven't seen many successful adaptive systems in production in my life. So according to what I consider to be the true definition of AI, I don't think that anybody's currently doing that. And I know that's not particularly helpful because building adaptive systems is incredibly complex, and there's less than a handful of companies around the world that can build safe adaptive systems. So more recently, I've been creating a framework to help organizations, to help people understand what these emerging technologies are, what they can be applied to, why it's different to traditional technologies, and what are the safety and ethical implications of these emerging technologies. I'm happy to go into detail later on about if you want.
Sure. Thank you very much for that. So we also have seen that AI and machine learning, or AI or ML, is basically many times used interchangeably, right? So how would you differentiate the two?
Yeah, and you don't need to have ML to have AI. So AI is a manifesto. It is building systems that can safely adapt themselves in production. Even if I just had a linear model, a line that as it gets new data points and it adjusts its angle, I would actually argue that's AI. You don't have to have machine learning. Machine learning, yes, is a tool that can adapt itself, but typically machine learning is static in production. It doesn't change. It's not until you run data through it, then you update the model, and then eventually you put it back into production. So AI is a manifesto, which are systems that can adapt themselves. Machine learning is a component that could allow you to do that, but it's not necessarily necessary. And we also have to remember that machine learning is very good at finding patterns in data. Machine learning is not good at making decisions. There's a completely different field in computer science, a different field in mathematics, that is around decision making. And what I'm seeing at the moment are companies hiring my students, machine learning experts, to try to solve decision problems. I controversially argue companies don't have machine learning problems, they have decision problems. You need to start out by solving that, which is usually a discrete mathematics problem, it's an optimization problem, and then you need to work out what insights can be used to help that algorithm make better decisions. So I think that over the next 5 years, companies are going to realize they've been hiring the wrong people to solve problems they don't understand, and there's going to be a resurgence of operations research or optimization experts.
So also, like, I mean, we have really seen that many companies are basically transforming themselves into like the digital age, right? So everything is digitally transformed. So what do you think AI will be playing or is playing a role in this transformation?
So digital transformation for me is just companies trying to get their data in one place. At the moment, organizations have siloed pieces of data across multiple different tools. They're buying ERPs, whatever, to try to bring that data together because they hope that they can then create some sort of machine learning models that can extract insights from that data. And actually, if I'm being completely honest, I think that most digital transformations that I've seen and that I am seeing happening are going to fail because this idea of bringing all of your data and then somehow putting Tableau or some analytics layer on top of it, meaning that you're going to have AI, is actually it's bound to fail. What I would argue is that yes, it's very important to have all of your data together, but it needs to be application driven. You need to start out with what frictions exist across your organization, and then what are the technologies, what are the data required to alleviate those frictions, and then build those applications not in silo, but build your data lake, build your digital transformation over time. So so digital transformation for me is a long journey where you're constantly building applications that are solving frictions across the organization. The next step beyond digital transformation is a concept called digital twins, which I'm happy to talk about. And the next step beyond that is a concept called digital cognition, which I think we're 10 or 15 years away from.
Right. So you touched on the topic of your company, right? So can you tell us a bit more about that? I mean, what's the name? What's the product all about? What problem you are solving?
Sure. So we are trying to be a venture builder. So my passion is trying to figure out how do we get innovations to market as fast and as frictionless as possible. So we build innovations for companies like Tesco, which is the biggest retailer here in the UK. We do their last mile delivery. We've built solutions for companies like PwC, where we're allocating staff to a demand. We solve these large scale decision problems using advanced algorithms, using machine learning as well to get better insights. And so we build innovations for organizations that help them adapt to a changing world. Remember, adaptation is synonymous with intelligence. Faster you can adapt to a changing world, the more intelligent you are. And the key ingredient of that is being able to innovate. But for Satalia to be good at getting innovations to market fast, we need to organize ourselves in a radically new way. So if we just organize ourselves like traditional companies, then we would be pretty good at taking services to market, or a product to market, or an asset to market. What I've been trying to challenge myself is, how do we create an operating system, an organizational structure that allows for the right structure to emerge according to the innovation that we're taking to market. So if we're building a product for a company, it probably needs to be more hierarchical. If we're building some sort of solution that's service-based, it needs to be more swarm-like. How can we create an operating system that enables an organization to be as liquid and as adaptive as possible? And actually, that is also one of our offerings. So not only do we build innovations for organizations, we also try and turn those innovations into products, and we're trying to reinvent how companies operate using AI, using new organizational paradigms, and then helping organizations use that to be able to allow them to innovate.
Sure. So another question, a follow-up to that, is that what are some of the main use cases of AI that you have seen within your organization? Because you said that you are providing services to various organizations. So what are the most common use cases, or you can say most important or beneficial use cases for these companies?
Yeah, I would be very cautious when companies are trying to apply machine learning to extract insights that are then left to a human being to make decisions. Human beings are really limited on our decision-making capacity. So where an algorithm is currently being used to make decisions, or you can build an algorithm to make significantly better decisions, that's where the real opportunity is right now. Of course, in the future, you can use better insights, but what we're seeing is these technologies being applied to where the money is. So how can we identify churn, and then make sure that we're allocating our resources to minimize churn? How do we identify upsell, cross-sell? How do we figure out how to optimize our money across marketing channels to generate more demand? So that stuff is relatively easy to measure the impact of. Also across your supply chain, we can see if we can improve our deliveries by 10%, or if we can improve the efficiency of our warehouses by 20%, or if we can, I don't know, optimize across our suppliers so that we're minimizing risk. You can also start to see an immediate return on the investment. So we're seeing AI, particularly operations research and optimization, being applied at the edges where the money is. I would argue that you need to also be applying AI inside your organization to change how it operates, because if you're not empowering, unlocking the creative capacity of your workforce and making them happy, you're dying from the inside. So you might see some immediate benefits applying AI to the edges, but if you're not applying AI to reinventing how you operate, then you're not going to be sustainable as a business.
Sure. So also, I mean, in recent days, we have really seen a trend of companies shifting into the cloud, right? Especially SaaS companies. So, I mean, they have all their, fancy or number crunching or other related brain work in the cloud, right? So what do you think, in the future, it's going to be more cloud-based AI applications, or it's going to be more, on-prem, or how do you think that the cloud role will be in the future of computing?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Especially in the domain of AI.
Yeah, I mean, it's cyclic, but I think that the move to the cloud, in theory, makes it easier to be able to access your data. So and of course, digital transformation, the foundational idea is you're bringing your data together so you can extract insights. What we'll probably see is these organizations, the ERPs, which are, forgive me to say this, but they're glorified databases. They are trying to upsell modules that do complex parts of your supply chain. I don't think that's competitive. I think that if you want to really differentiate yourself as a business, yes, you can buy some of those modules, but they're not going to be able to compete against companies that provide specialized solutions. But I think what's interesting about the cloud is that in theory we'll be able to build machine learning models. We'll be able to build optimization models that can be reused across your business. So not only are you unsiloing data, but you're then trying to unsilo intelligent modules. So if I, for example, I don't know, have a module that can determine the skill of a staff member. So it pulls in data across email, across Slack, across their code repositories, the documents that they create. If I can pull all of that data together, I can use AI to determine the skill of an employee. Now that skill could be used to give them feedback. It could be used for pay. It could be used for performance. It could be used to allocate them to jobs. And I think what we're going to start to see is an intelligence layer that sits on top of the data layer with reusable modules that can be applied across a business. I would caveat that with you need to start out with the application. There's no point in just building those modules now. You need to start out by saying, I'm going to be building a feedback system, and for feedback to work, I need to have a skills module. And yes, that skills module can be used later on, but it needs to be application driven.
Right. So also, I mean, in the recent days, we have really seen that AI basically is sort of the new poster child, you can say, or I mean, more hyped up. I mean, everyone is talking about AI. Now, when people, I mean, talk about something a lot, then there are some challenges associated to this same, you can say. So, what, in your opinion, there would be challenges for the companies who are entering into the AI space right now, or they are basically just going on the bandwagon without sort of really thinking that they need AI or not? So, what do you think? I mean, a challenge in terms of getting too much hype of this particular technology in current and future age?
I think there's a huge amount of hype, and I'm worried that it's actually going to create another AI winter in some respects. So I think that there are two big red flags. The first is most people don't understand what AI is, and they don't understand what the nuances of these technologies are, because actually a decision tree is very different to a chatbot, that's very different to an optimization algorithm. These are just radically different technologies, and to kind of call them all AI is confusing for people, and it's disingenuous. So we need to make sure that leadership understand at least the next layer of nuances of these different technologies and what they can and can't be applied to. So the first thing is that companies don't understand what AI is. The second is they are then jumping on the bandwagon and hiring people that have a certain set of skills, like say data scientists, machine learning experts, thinking that that's what they need to solve to do AI. And actually that's wrong as well, because a lot of those people are well, first of all, they don't understand the problems that exist in their organization, and they don't understand that those people don't have the skills to solve those problems. So that's the second thing, is I think that there's a mishiring of a certain type of skills. And the third thing is this idea of creating their digital platform. By getting all their data together and putting Tableau or whatever on top of it, they suddenly have AI. So there's a massive amount of investment going into building teams, building infrastructure that I think is misplaced. And the companies that I see that actually haven't started yet are actually in a better position to many of the companies that have started, because unfortunately, those companies are going to invest 3-4 years worth of money into creating this infrastructure. It won't work. The CTO will go and get another job somewhere else and say that they were successful in their digital transformation, and actually they're going to leave behind something that is a huge amount of tech debt. And it's not easy to see over a long period of time, but unfortunately, I think that's what's going to happen. The companies that get it right, the companies that architect themselves for adaptation, the companies that are applying these technologies, again, application led, and then building their digital infrastructure over time, are the ones that are going to win. And not only that, is that if they can architect themselves for adaptation, if they can ensure that their innovations are constantly getting better, by definition, their competitors, new startups, are not going to be able to beat them.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you touched on a very important topic, that I mean, people are basically hiring all the wrong people for these AI projects. So we hear a lot of terms. I mean, data engineer is one, data scientist is one, AI engineer is one, machine learning engineer is one, then AI ops is also a new thing. So can you talk to us a bit about like what these different roles are? Now, who is a data engineer? Who is a data analyst? Who is a data scientist? Who is an AI engineer? Who is a machine learning engineer? I mean, what's really the difference?
Of course. I mean, so there's a layer before data engineering, which is kind of data infrastructure. So that's getting your databases and whatnot, all your data stored in the right way for then a data engineer to be able to pull out the data that's required for doing some sort of analytics. And there are different flavors of analytics. There's discrete, there's descriptive analytics, which is essentially graphs, plotting data in graphs, which is again what Tableau and a lot of the analytics tools do. Then there's predictive analytics, which is then kind of identifying trends and making predictions from that data, which is what you use data scientists and machine learning experts for. So your data analyst is usually people that create dashboards and graphs. Data scientists, data machine learning experts are people that are able to make predictions, extract insights from that data. And then you have a concept called prescriptive analytics, which is then making decisions based on those insights. And that's again, operations research, is discrete mathematics. All of them have very different expertise, very different backgrounds. And again, companies, unfortunately, well, now it's changing, but they used to hire a data scientist and expect them to do everything, which is bonkers. I think the term AI ops, some companies are using it correctly, which is how do I architect my systems to safely adapt themselves in production? But I think that the AI ops term at the moment is just to give people an inflated salaries, because by calling themselves AI, they get more money.
So, I mean, in the end, I would like to really ask you, like, where do you see the future of AI fits into the future of the transformation?
Yeah, I think that these technologies used correctly are phenomenal at removing frictions from the creation and dissemination of goods, of innovations. And friction actually sometimes means removing human labor. It's a fact. And the hope that I have is that AI will help create of an organization, so they're called digital twins. We'll be able to identify where there are frictions across that organization. We'll be able to make decisions how to alleviate those frictions. So again, removing the human being from the loop, and us being able to get innovations to market much more cheaply, much more quickly. And my long-term view plan, my 40-year plan, is to create a platform to allow organizations to do that, to get innovations to market as frictionally as possible. Because if we can get goods like healthcare, education, nutrition, energy to market cheaply or almost free, you create a world of abundance. Imagine being born into a world where you don't have to worry about working to feed yourself or to get access to energy or education, because we've reduced the cost so much. We can make that abundant. And then it frees people up economically to then contribute to humanity however they want. I've got a 40-year plan to figure out how do we create a world of abundance using these technologies to free as many people up to be able to do the things that they want to do.
Awesome. So Daniel, really thankful to you for taking the time out and speaking to us about this wonderful topic. So we look forward to host you again in another exciting topic. Until then, once again, thanks a lot.
Thank you.